We want to return now to the fallout from Sunday's airstrike that killed at least 21 Afghan civilians. And for that, we are joined by Rick Nelson, a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and a former member of the U.S. Special Operations Command. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Martin, for having me.
Let's talk about the significance of General McChrystal going on television in Afghanistan. Why would he do that?
Well, it's very significant. I mean, General McChrystal has been very clear that to be successful in Afghanistan, the center of gravity that they use in military terms is the Afghan people. And what General McChrystal is trying to do is get ahead of this story to make sure that he lets the Afghan people know that the casualties were inadvertent and that the NATO and the U.S. forces are apologetic for this incident.
Unfortunately, though, we've had incidents like this before over the years. And I'm wondering, why now?
Well, I think you're seeing a shift. Again, a shift in philosophy that came out of President Obama coming on board, putting General McChrystal in charge, the new strategy they put in place last fall, and then you see the upcoming surge of 30,000 troops. That if we're going to be successful in Afghanistan, we have to see a change in the policy and a change in the way we're conducting the war.
And when the Afghan people see an American general on their television, do you think they'll believe him?
Well, I think they see a change. I think they see a shift. For 7 years, the U.S. forces and NATO forces really haven't done this or been as aggressive as General McChrystal is being in this case, and I think that's what they're going to see. They're going to notice a change.
This incident involving the civilians took place on Sunday. It was somewhat removed from Marja, where the Marines had been in combat with the Taliban. It seems also different in that it was a convoy of vehicles that appears to have been struck from the air, as opposed to Marines under fire who call in the coordinates of a compound and take it out. How did this happen with this convoy? How did things like this occur?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to say. We don't have all the operational details of how this unfolded, but, you know, clearly there is what there's called the fog of war, and the operational commander is put in a position where he has to weigh the risks of letting perhaps some individuals that may be reinforcing positions of getting there versus the possibility of civilian casualties. And we'll have to wait to see what factors influence his decision.
The Marines on the ground in Marja are under tremendously strict rules of engagement when not to fire to protect civilians. Well, what about the NATO jets or the Air Force? Were they not under the same rules?
Well, General McChrystal is obviously guiding those rules of engagement. You know, he's the commander. He ultimately is giving out the rules of engagement. And they know what they are, and he's been very clear that they need to mind those rules of engagement.
If I'm a Marine in the thick of the fight in Marja, what do I think of the rules of engagement?
Well, as a Marine in the thick of the fight, you're not thinking too much about the impact of rules of engagement. You know what they are. You're going to follow them. You're going to do the very best you can on the ground with those rules of engagement. You're more concerned about, you know, taking care of the individual next to you and protecting the populace than you are really arguing about what the rules of engagement are. And that's what makes Marines so special.
What about morale?
Morale, again, they're going to look at, you know, whether there's casualties being caused by the rules of engagements. And what we've seen here is a very successful operation so far where that is not the case. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of criticism.
Rick Nelson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.